Welcome back. We bring the conversation back here to Nigeria, where the government has commenced discussions with the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors over the demands of the doctors. The doctors are asking the federal government to expedite action on the payment of the newly reviewed Medical Residency Training Fund to enable its members to meet up with the closing date of examination registration as advertised by the National Postgraduate Medical College of Nigeria.
They are also demanding the immediate implementation and payment of the new hazard allowance and arrears as contained in the circular from the National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission. Recall that resident doctors had on July 30, 2022 issued a 2-week ultimatum to the federal government to implement all the agreements it had with the association, or it will embark on an indefinite strike.
Now joining us this morning to discuss the details of the discussion with the government is the National President, Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, Dr. Dare Godiya Ishaya. Welcome to the show and thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning and thank you for having me.
All right. Now tell us about your discussion, the discussion that your union has had so far. We know that the conversation has commenced with the federal government. What has been the outcome so far?
Thank you once more again. The discussions so far have been, there was no formal arrangement for all the MDS involved as it used to be, for us to sit down and discuss the issues, put it together and come up with solutions. But rather, the approach we adopted this time around is to meet with those MDS responsible that are yet to fulfill some of the demands that we enumerated in our communique. And the MDS that we have met so far include the cash management office, so in the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning. And we were able to have understanding that already the money were actually captured in the 2022 Appropriation Act. It's remaining the MDA to release, and the processes for the release were discussed, and that will start hopefully today, and we'll see if the fund will be released within next week or upper week, as was agreed by the Director of Cash Management Office. We have also been able to meet with the Minister of Labour, who have shown have been working tirelessly to see that the planned strike action is averted, and we continue to discharge our services to teeming Nigerian populace uninterrupted. He has communicated all our positions to various MDS involved, and those demands are being receiving some attention, even though not as fast as we would have loved it to be. But I think some progress are being made. The new circular, which we were actually pursuing with the National Salaries, Income and Wages Commission, was released on the 5th, and we are awaiting the implementation of it. The new hazard allowance, that one we are not very clear yet as to the direction that the government is taking, whether they are going to pay, but the available information that we have gathered so far, the payrolling for the August salary have commenced, and there has not been directive that the new hazard allowance included in the August salary. So that's the one that is remaining largely unknown to us and very contentious, which will discuss after the expiration of our ultimatum, and then the NEC members will be brief and will see the position we will take regarding that.
All right.
The issues of the payment.
Dr. Dari.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry to jump in there, but I want some clarification on what the new hazard allowance is, the one that you're demanding. What are the new figures? And also, you had given a 2-week ultimatum. So are you saying that if after these 2 weeks nothing happens and you don't get the monies like you've mentioned is in the 2022 appropriation bill, if those funds don't come in, there will be a strike?
Well, I don't want to say there will be a strike action, because that will amount to me preempting the decision of the National Executive Council. I will allow the National Executive Council to make their position. Regarding the question you asked about the figures, you recall in December, precisely 22nd of December 2021, the National Salaries, Income and Wages Commission came up with a circular, which was a product, or rather was a product of the agitation that we met last year with the government during our strike, during the last year's strike. And since the release of that circular, which we largely felt it was a unilateral position of the government that apportioned certain amount to various cadres of health workers that ranges from 32,000 to 40,000, the highest, as against the amount that was being received, which is 5,000 naira. That have not been implemented up till date. The is still the 5,000 naira that we are still receiving up till date. And if, just as I said earlier, even the August salary, which is being payrolled, is still 5,000 naira that have been captured.
And how do the doctors feel about this? The 5,000, as well as even the increment, the proposed 32,000 to 42,000. Is it adequate?
Well, it wasn't adequate. What we demanded, it wasn't actually even the figures, because our position was that the 5,000 naira that was apportioned in 2009, as at that time it was a figure that people would say it was something, but with the super inflation that we've been having in the country, it has largely become very, very inconsequential that even to procure a drug with that amount, you cannot. So we said rather than apportioning a flat figure, why can't the hazard allowance derive its root from the basic salaries that each and every health worker earns, so that we don't have to be coming and agitating every now and then that we want the hazard allowance to be reviewed. But the government refused our argument, and they went in a manner that was not actually what it used to be during collective bargaining, and unilaterally came up with those figures. We initially rejected it, but because of we didn't want to continue to have crisis in the sector, we adopted it for the benefit of the Nigerian populace, and said, okay, since we have gotten at least something out of it, let the government implement it. But 7 months down the line, the government haven't implemented the same figures that they apportioned to us. And that is what is frustrating most of the health workers and the doctors.
All right. Aside the conversation with the federal government, we also understand that some state governors are owing your members for several months now. Has there been any headway in that regard?
Well, the Nasarawa state government, during the meeting, actually adopted the Residency Training Act, and also paid our members in the state the Medical Residency Training Fund, which we applauded. In fact, not only that, there were spouses or next of kin of our colleagues who died of Lassa fever last year, which they contracted while attempting to deliver a pregnant woman that came with a bleeding problem. And they contracted the Lassa fever, and both of them died. The governor graciously offered or employed the spouse of those our colleagues in the state civil service. And also there was another person who died on health-related hazard, and we approached the governor and pleaded that his spouse also be employed. And the governor promised that he will speedily work on it to ensure that she's employed. We have a state like Abia, who actually we sat with just 2 days to our meeting, and we agreed that out of the 24 months that the government is owing our members in salary arrears, that he was going to offset the 7 months salary within a week. But as we speak, the secretariat of our secretariat is not in receipt of any report today that 7 months, as was promised by the governor, have been paid.
Dr. Dare Godia Ishaye, unfortunately, we've run out of time, but we would be following up with the updates on this, especially as regards the payments of salaries. But thank you very much for your time this morning and for giving us a true picture of what's happening between the doctors and the government.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.